So for this video, you're gonna definitely want Aloha Shoyu. You don't want Kikkoman, you don't want any other brand. Aloha Shoyu is how it's done right. This recipe is something a little bit different. It's one of my family's favorites. It is Hawaiian style Spam fried rice. This is the new song that I made. I needed some non-copyrighted music, but I couldn't find any. So I had to make my own, and I have no idea what I'm doing. So the main thing that you're gonna need for this recipe is obviously rice, but the thing that you need to do is you need to cool it off first. And so what I do is I fluff mine and I break all the chunks up and I stick it into the fridge before I prepare all of my other ingredients. So this is how I do it, and then I'll just pop it into the fridge and start getting the other ingredients. And by the way, this is about 5 cups of cooked white rice. And you can use any kind. And the next thing that we're going to be using is eggs. For this amount of rice, I use about 10 eggs. And my family will usually eat this whole pot in one night. We'll be lucky if we have leftovers for breakfast in the morning. So you just want to add a little bit of salt to your eggs and then scramble them up. And then we can set them aside and get the rest of our ingredients gathered. The secret for this is oyster sauce. So that sometimes is a little bit hard to find. And then I also use frozen veggies. It's just easier. You can use fresh ones if you want. We usually use carrots and peas, but you can do any mix that you like. We don't like lima beans, so the peas and carrots is easier. And all of these ingredients I'm gonna be frying in a toasted sesame oil. You can use any kind of oil that you want, but this one, it gives it a really good flavor. And I'm also going to be using Spam. Yep, we love Spam. And if you don't like it, you can use anything that you want. You can use tofu. I like char siu, I just don't make it. Shrimp, whatever you want. But we actually like Spam in this house. So just gonna get this chopped up and cube it up into little dices because this is all gonna be fried. And it doesn't have to be cut any certain way. Just get it all chopped up. We have this. We have this. We're gonna fry in this. We're going to have the oyster sauce. We're going to use fried 2 packets and our rice.
Ooh.
So this in the pot first. Okay, so now I'm gonna go. And we want this very hot. This is super hot. We're gonna add our Spam. So one of the things that you have to keep in mind is you want really high heat, and you have to keep moving this around so that it doesn't burn, kind of like a stir fry. Basically you're stirring it and frying it, and then after this is done, when it's got like a nice crisp on all the sides, I'm going to remove this and put it into a large container. Everything I'm going to be frying little by little just so it doesn't start sweating and becoming sticky at the bottom. So in this way, when you fry it in small amounts, you have more control over everything that you're doing. So after removing all of that, I'm going to start adding the peas and carrots. And again, you want to make sure that your oil comes back up to temperature and that it's still very hot. Now with this frozen one, it does give off its moisture, and so it takes just a little bit longer. It took me about 5 minutes for all of the defrost to happen and for the moisture to evaporate, and then it has to begin frying. So I just did 1 packet, so here's the second packet, and again I made sure that my oil comes back up to high heat temperature, and then I pour the frozen peas in, the frozen peas and carrots, and you wait for it to sweat, give off its water. If you need to add more oil, then you can add more oil. It really doesn't take a lot of oil, but you just want to make sure that you have enough. So again, I'm adding a little bit of oil, waiting for it to get super, super hot, and then I'm dumping the eggs in, and we're almost done, guys. So This one, same thing, you just want to keep moving it around, and if you have high enough heat and if you have enough oil, and like I said, you don't need a lot of oil, it's not going to stick to the bottom. So you just wait for it to have a good fry, and then I'm just going to start pulling it and frying these eggs around. And then once the eggs are all completely scrambled, I am going to transfer that into the same bowl as all of the other stuff that we've fried so far. And I'm going to add some more oil. Again, make sure it gets really hot. And then I'm going to pull the rice out of the fridge, and we're going to start adding the cold rice. It doesn't have to be completely cold, but the cooler it is, then the easier it will be, and it won't be getting super sticky. And what you're looking for with the rice is you want it to have a nice little fry on the bottom. So I put the oil and I scoop it from underneath, and I noticed that I needed a little bit more oil because you want to see it kind of coating the rice. You don't want to really see any naked rice running around. So I put a little bit of more oil, and I'm just scooping it all, making sure that it all hits the bottom and gets a nice toast on it. And you can't really see in the video, but you will notice a color change. So the color of the rice will no longer be white. It will kind of be more translucent-y and a little bit more yellow from the color of the oil and the color of the toasting. And at that point, that's when we're gonna add our oyster sauce. And you can't really do fried rice without the oyster sauce. There is nothing really that I've found that I can substitute it with. So it's the oyster sauce. I use the Panda brand. I have tried other brands. I didn't really like them. I always go back to this brand, but it is what gives all of the flavor. So use it sparingly. For this amount of rice, which is about, I would say, 5 cups here, I used about a 1/4 cup of oyster sauce, and you just want to get that all stirred in, make sure everything gets coated evenly. You don't want any clumps of it because it is a concentrated, kind of like salt. So be sure to add enough, because we didn't salt anything other than just a little bit in the eggs, but the Spam is salty too. So just kind of play around with it. Err on the side of less first, and then you can always add more later on. So now it's time to add the veggies, and this is done. We just have to stir everything in and get it all mixed really well, and we are ready to serve. So for a little bit of freshness, I always like to add a little bit of green onion, but I don't mix it in to it because sometimes the kids complain about it, but you just serve it up in a bowl and add a little bit of the green onion on top. My husband and I like it. I put a little bit of shoyu. It's salty, but we love the flavor, so be careful with adding too much. It's not as salty as the other soy sauces, so it tastes really good. And that's it, guys. This is the local style. Maybe you won't find it at a restaurant, but if you go to a potluck or the auntie's house, this is how you're gonna find the fried rice in the islands. So here's your taste of Hawaii, and I hope you guys enjoyed the video. If you did, don't forget to comment, like, subscribe, and try the recipe. If you don't like Spam, switch it out for something else. Switch it out for some tofu, switch it out for some kalua pork. Shrimp is also really good if you have it. But yeah, let me know what you think in the comments below, and thank you so much for watching, guys. I really hope that you give this a try, and I hope that you enjoyed it. That I needed some non-copyrighted music, but I couldn't find any, so I had to make my own, and I have no idea what I'm doing.